Okay, before we officially get started, I would like for everyone who can use these devices that many people find easy and some of us find difficult, pen and paper. We have some in the back, so we can pass those around. And if you don't want to use those devices, you can use this device. And if you don't want to use either of those, just use your mind and think and process what we're going to talk about. So take a minute, and if you want to grab some paper, there's paper in the back and a pen. Again, anything that you write will be just private. It will be for you, and you can do whatever you want to with it. We will not put it on social media unless you want it there. Okay, you guys ready? All right, let me read to you a note that I received from a lady who struggled with encephalitis. And like me, she battles epilepsy and various types of brain damage and memory issues. And I talked to her about the importance of journaling. And her first response was, I could just see it with her facial expression. She didn't smile like, oh, great idea. She gave me this look. So everybody give me that look right now. Everybody look this way and give me that mean look. Some of you had been doing that already before I asked for it, but I just wanted to be in support of the looks you were giving me. But let's all focus. You know how our brains are. We get easily distracted. Let's focus and listen after this lady started journaling and what she was able to do to bring healing to herself. It was like medicine without side effects. Dear Chris, I don't believe exactly what you believe, but you have helped me lose weight. Not physical weight, though that would be nice, but you've helped me lose the heavy load of emotional luggage. You have helped me release that. I finally feel light. You helped me write away some of my pain. And just think of two of those words, right away. We often want help right away, immediately. But often through the process of recovery and adjusting to medications, adjusting to the new selves that we have become, or if you are a caregiver, the new person that is a part of your family, in that process, it is slow. Everybody say slow. Slow. It is like so slow. I told you it's been like 20 years for me, and it's still very slow. So what can we do during that process? We can choose to leave things alone, but when we think we're leaving something alone, we really aren't. We are being bothered by that we live in denial of, or that we ignore. And so I've helped many people over the years through the therapy of journaling. You do not have to share my beliefs or what I write about or my style of writing. You don't have to be a poet or a creative journalist. Just be you. Be the you that you are now, but realize that you is not the you of the past. So just think about it this way. Later today, I'm going to be boarding a plane, and I cannot carry with me all of these tables. I cannot carry all of the dessert from last night that I would love to eat again, or that breakfast that I just had. We can't carry the heavy weight. There's a certain weight. We can't pass that weight. What about in life? We often carry the luggage of, this is who I used to be, but this is who I am now. I'm stressed, I'm worried, I'm angry, I'm frustrated. They ask me a question, I can't think of the answer, but I keep talking until I can maybe think of the answer. You know the games we play. If it is luggage we are carrying, it is holding us back from being the people that we can be. And I've got to be honest with you guys. I see beautiful ladies and handsome men. I see wonderful stories right here in this room. But I believe that as we find the right process of therapy, again, for me, it's journaling. And as I give you these 6 points, I want you to write them down if you can. If you're like me, you need to write things down to remember. But if you are right now in your mental or emotional state unable to journal as writing, maybe you can write by hand but not type. Maybe you're like me and you can only type or write on your phone, but if you wrote by hand, nobody would understand what you're writing. Some of you may not even be able to do either of those. As I'm giving the points and the illustrations about journaling, hear it this way. Maybe a voice memo that you can record your words on your phone. Find what fits for you. So again, as I'm putting in the context of writing, find what fits for you. Okay, so number one, I want you to write this down. I want us to be people who are, number one, realizing our struggles. Let's be people who are realizing our struggles. Wasn't it interesting, our first night together, hearing everybody's story? I mean, we didn't stand up and say, hey, my name is Chris and I've never had a problem. Well, my name is Sandra and I've never had a problem. My name is Susie and all is well. We talked about our pain. We talked about our troubles and our struggles and our questions and our uncertainty. And often as we're talking about that, this is what we do. We start talking about it and then we forget. But there are many portions of our stories we have not forgotten. Living in denial of those stories do not make our stories better. We hold the luggage in and it holds us back. Let's realize our struggles. So this is something I want you to do right now. And you may not want to do it. And so I almost actually brought a literal one here, but I didn't. But imagine that I was holding a mirror. And each of you could see yourself. I mean, I could put the mirror here. And I could put it here. And I could come over here and let you look at yourself. And let you look at yourself. And I could let you look at yourself. And most of you, when you saw the picture, what would you do?
Cringe.
Yeah, I'd say, yeah.
You just did it, didn't you? I mean, this was just like pretending to have a mirror. What did you do? You didn't look. Wow, she's fine. What did you do? You went, I mean, every one of you that I didn't even have the mirror. It was just imaging, using your imagination, holding nothing in front of you. But as you looked at yourself fictionally, you turned away. Didn't you? You just kind of like, we're just like, ugh, is that us? Yes, that is. And the you that you see is a wonderful you. I want you to realize your struggle. Denial is not healthy medicine. Denial brings more damage for the future. Okay? So let's not live in denial. Let's realize our struggles. And as you're journaling about your struggle, let's say that you wrote right now. I'm not going to have you do it. I'll give you an assignment in a little bit, but not this early. I'm going to make you kind of, maybe you'll give it a chance in a few minutes. But if you were writing a story now about the person you saw in the mirror, the reflection of the face, I would want you to use as many senses as possible. Okay, what did you see? What did that person that was looking back at you, what did they say? But not just the what, how did they say it? How did that person that you saw, what was their tone of voice? Why? Did they talk like this? Do they have issues? Or did they talk like this? Were they afraid? Get to know yourself better as you are realizing your struggles. I'm telling you, I'm taking a lot of medicine. But I do not want denial to be one of the medications that I take. It is not healthy because, again, that is inside grows, and it can grow so much that we can't go to the terminal to take the flight that we need to take in this journey of life. Okay? So everybody say this word, releasing our struggles. Okay, and I'm not going to pretend that by releasing them, you become better in 30 seconds. This is just the first stage. I want you to be willing to release the struggles. You try to find somebody that you can talk to, but you have to realize it, number one, and release it, number two. So realize what the struggles are, and then release it. And releasing it in a journal that is just between you and you and you and you. You and all of your many personalities. Just between me and me. That is a safe place. If you're somebody like me who believes in the importance of prayer, and I believe in a God that I can talk to, I don't believe in some God that's like against me and angry at me. I believe He likes me. This me and the pre-illness me. The pre-illness Chris, the during the hospital days Chris, the having an MRI Chris, and this Chris. As you're realizing your struggles, release your emotions. I've had people in hospitals write journal entries that are full of anger and hurt and pain. And they think, uh-oh, I can't write this because it's... But they wanted me to read what they wrote. And I read it, and I looked back at them. They thought I would be angry at them because of their anger. I smiled at them and said, I'm proud of you for releasing it. Okay, so I told you I had to wait a minute, but the minute's up. I want you to write down on your sheet of paper. Nobody else peek, nobody else look. But I just want you to write down the word of one emotion that you have experienced or are experiencing related to encephalitis. Either you as the patient or the caregiver. Write down one emotion. Go ahead, write it down. Don't think too long. Just see what comes to you. Just write it down. Okay? Anybody want to say out loud? You don't have to. Again, just if you want to. What would you?
Helplessness.
Helplessness.
Anger.
Anger.
Yeah.
Sorrow.
Sorrow.
Fear. Sorry.
Anger, and fear. Yeah, we can relate to fear.
Hate.
It is overwhelming. Can you guys relate to that?
Yeah.
Hate.
Hate. Yeah.
Concern.
Concern.
Frustration.
Frustration.
Resolution.
Ooh, good word.
Alone.
I'm sorry?
Alone.
Alone. Boy. Don't you feel that way? I've been in so many crowds of people. I spoke at this huge medical conference in Japan. And I mean, it's like this, it's this conference room is like huge, and I'm on this huge stage, and they've got my handsome bald head shining on the big screen. And as I'm speaking and telling my story in English, they're listening to it in Japanese. Is that like so cool? And I loved it because the pharmaceutical company wanted me to be able to go and smile and tell a story, because they're in that culture. They do not even talk about things like encephalitis or epilepsy. They're dirty words, and you can't admit that you have it. So they wanted me to come and smile and tell the story of pain, but I still felt alone. I did not know their language. We often feel alone because those around us do not know the encephalitis language. How can I spell encephalitis? I can't even spell my own name hardly. It's weird that I can spell that word. But some people think it is a spell. And it is something wrong with us. Well, they do not have to understand us. But let's begin to understand ourselves better. And the way we do that is let's see what's on the table. This table, our inner selves. Release our emotions in a healthy way. If the doctor comes to us and says, Chris, you got a little skin cancer right here. We want to do something about it. What do they want to do with that? Take it off. They're not going to say, Chris, we've got this little bit of cancer right there in your back, and we would like to leave it there as long as possible to see how it might affect your baldness. Or see if it could grow more and see what it might do to your left temporal lobe where you have scar tissue. What? Cut it. Cut it. The pain and the hurt that is inside of us needs to be released. Let it go. If we want to add more positive things to our lives, addition often begins with subtraction. We need to make room for it. So write about it. Write about your pain. Write about it. Feel the anger that's there that you've tried to pretend you don't feel. It's there. You're feeling it. I've seen it in you. I've talked to some of you the last couple of nights about it. And I just heard the words. None of you said, happy, 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 happy. That wasn't one of the words. But in the middle of the tension, in the middle of the pain, write the story of hurt. My spouse does not understand me. They expect me to remember this, and I always forget, and I wish I didn't. Write it, and then rip it and tear it, or put it in the fireplace and burn it. Release it. Let it go. Okay? So, you are realizing your struggles. Again, not living in denial. You're releasing the emotions. And then the next one. Let's receive ourselves. Let's receive who we are. Okay, so everybody now hold out the pretended mirror that we do not have, but we're going to think we have. So hold it up right there. Come on, hands up. Hold the mirror and look at yourself. Say, I like you. Go ahead and say it.
I like you.
You're talking to you, not talking to me. I like you. It is okay to like what you see. Let's receive ourselves. Okay, this is an assignment. You don't have to do it right now, but I really would like for you to write this down as an assignment that you will take time to do. Maybe on your plane flight back, but you don't want the person beside you to see what you're writing. This is going to be very personal. But find some time, make some time to do this. Imagine walking into a restaurant and seeing you sitting at a table. That's a good way to write a story, okay? So it's not just me telling you, write a story about you. Let's put it into a scene. Let's give it some structure, all right? And again, use as many senses as possible. Think about, what do you smell as you're walking into the restaurant? In fact, let's just go ahead and do that part right now. Imagine, you could think of the restaurant that you might like, the food. What are you smelling right now? Breakfast. All right, we have pizza, and we have some scrambled cholesterol. And it's just like, breakfast, this is my kind of meal, it's good. What else? What else?
Bacon.
Coffee?
Fresh bread.
Fresh bread.
Oh.
Bacon to go with the eggs.
Bacon to go with the eggs. I live in Georgia, so that would mean grits. I can. Maybe it's just... I actually can eat grits just by themselves. I've eaten grits for lunch many times. It's just... I told you I have issues. Okay, but that person that you see sitting there, how would you describe them? To use as many senses as possible, but I want you to begin in the natural. As you're writing this, but then intentionally brag on that person. Think of the gifts that you have, that you often live in denial of, and say, I see a person who has, well, this is some of the things that I've seen in you guys just the last few days. I've seen kindness. I've seen understanding. I've seen sympathy here. I've seen some sarcasm, too, because we all can relate. We nod a few times when some of the speakers are telling us to do something that's like, none of us can do that. It doesn't relate to our world. You're a lawyer and you're speaking a language that I don't understand. We need that information. It's good. I'm just going to record it. I'll have to hear it 13 times before maybe a portion of it will stay in this damaged world of mine. But that is okay. You are also beautiful. You are handsome. You are gifted. You are important. You are kind. Write that. That a person is looking at you and they are describing you that way. They see you. And we don't have to live in denial. A person's not going to look at me. I'm not going to write, yes, I walked into a restaurant and I saw Chris Maxwell eating. He's the first one there for breakfast, as he is every morning. And he's eating his orange juice, thinking that will justify his scrambled cholesterol. But he's so tall. No, I'm not going to write a lie. His hair, especially at the top of his head, is just so fine. No, we don't have to pretend. Let's again face reality, but let's receive ourselves as we are. I had to come to terms with the Chris of a damaged brain, and that's okay. I did not like him, but I chose to. I could not let my feelings of like or dislike or love or not love be in control of my decisions. It's a choice that we make. And I had to look in the mirror and say, this guy, from the perspective of many, is not okay. But to me, him not being okay is okay, and I am okay, and that's okay. Exactly. Write about that. It is healthy for you. And I'm telling you, the more of the senses that you use and the more of your self-talk, it is healthy therapy for you. Got it? So you're going to do that assignment, right? Some of you send me a note. My card's right there at the table. Just grab and send me a note. You don't have to send me what you wrote unless you want me to. And, I won't tell anybody about it. But if just send me an email sometime or text me. My cell phone's out there and say, hey, I did the assignment. I hate you for making me do it. No, that's okay. Be honest. But I want you to intentionally be nice to that person you see as you walk into a restaurant. And I just chose the restaurant. I mean, you can be sitting beside that person on a plane flight, or you can be a student watching that person teach. You find something that would fit in receiving ourselves. Okay, now as we do that, we're not going to let that be the end of the story. So number 4 is this: reworking the mind. Now, I am not a doctor, so don't let anything I say here, yeah, I know about lawsuits too. I know about lawyers. So don't let anything I say here take the place of you taking your medicine and getting your sleep, etc. This is not medical advice. It is a counselor encouraging, not demanding, encouraging you to rework the mind. Listen to me. This is so important. Your life is a story. There are some chapters in the story that you have not liked. You do not like. But the next chapter of the story is something that we have a say in. We can choose where the narrative is going. So change some of it. Let's rework our minds. Have you noticed that there are times that you avoid your struggles because you're so tired of struggling that way? Boy, I know that. I know that pain. I recently was traveling in areas where I've never been before. I flew into Chicago and had to speak at an event in Chicago, and I've got a rental car, which I do not like because I'm accustomed to my car and my roads and my streets, but I'm trusting this brain to tell me where to go and where to turn and what to do and how far I have to go. But I'm driving a car I haven't driven before, and I've got an hour and a half to get there, and I'm going to be on a TV show the next day, and I know they're going to put makeup on my bald head to make it not shine so bright. And so I'm driving, and I just had this sense that take a deep breath and relax. I was worried, is it going to snow? I'm a Georgia, Florida boy. I'm not accustomed to snow. Why worry about the snow? Could my worry about it make it better? No. As I'm driving to South Bend, there was snow, but it was on the side of the road. It didn't fall as I was driving. I got to see a little bit of snow later, but it was at the right time for me. But I could not control it, so I had to rework my mind. I couldn't work the weather. I could work this weather. If it snows, that's okay. I'm going to pretend to be a child and enjoy it. If my car cannot make it any farther, it's not my car anyway. Being out of control, this is very important. Feeling like we are out of control, instead of being such a negative, let it give us a chance to choose to be in control. That I can't do that, that's okay. That is okay. I can't remember your name. You're wearing a name tag. I will forget it. Will I pretend to remember it? Well, I could live in denial if I want to. But I can choose to rework the mind. Instead of being controlled by embarrassment or my forgetfulness, I can just say this. Hey, I struggle remembering names. Can you remind me again what your name is? That's a new way to make the story different. You know, sometimes when you're listening to a song, it like starts off, verse 1 is like sad. It's like kind of the facial expression I saw of some of you very early this morning is just kind of. But then verse 2 comes, and it seems to be moving to a little better pace, and it's changing a little bit. And then we get to the chorus, and it's got some happiness in it. And then we move to the bridge. You know about songwriting, you go to the bridge. And in the bridge is this summary of everything that you didn't expect to come. And it's got a little hope there. It's got a little joy there. And then the final verse, and then the chorus again, and some lines from the bridge. It's like joy. I want you to write that kind of life song, that kind of life story. Because what you're doing is you're reworking the mind, getting it to think in a positive way. This past fall, I had to have my brain investigated again. This is 20 years later, okay? They're like, you may be having seizures again. We don't know what's going on with you. So I had to go visit my friend's MRI and some other tests. And as I was there having those tests, and as I'm sitting in that MRI, I could feel like, oh no, this is a bad place. Or I can take a deep breath, and I can relax and use this friend of mine, my imagination. I like to pray. I think of songs. I think of meditative thoughts that I can dwell on and think positive things. And realize that this Chris Maxwell having an MRI is not the same Chris Maxwell that they thought would die when he had his first one 20 years ago. I'm still here. I was told I shouldn't be here. Let's focus on the positives. Okay, so everybody look at me now. Look at me and say this out loud. I am moving forward.
Moving forward.
The next chapter
The next chapter
in my story
in my story
makes me smile.
makes me smile.
Okay, do you see that? I could have said it's just good, but I said it makes me smile. I want to use images and thoughts. As you're writing a story about yourself, put a smile on the face of someone who sees you. We often assume that everyone around us thinks, oh boy, it's Chris again. No, we're going to mentally have them smile as they look at us. Okay, so you're reworking the mind. And this is another part that I believe is very important. It has been for me. Refreshing the soul. I mentioned earlier there are many things that are in our mental account that's like taking up too much space. And we need to, before we can make new deposits of the positive thoughts, there needs to be some withdrawals of all the negatives and all the pain. Refreshing the soul. And again, some of you may not be into the writing or the things that are therapeutic for me, but find that fits for you. Each one of my books has been therapy for me. As I write the story, I'm not just telling my story, it's like I'm being healed of the pain in that story. Okay? So, each one of the books has done it in a different way. So just a quick summary, just real brief. Here's my book, Changing My Mind. That all of these books are out there. In fact, I'm going to leave right after I speak. I've got to head to the airport because I'm flying to Canada. I think you've trained me and told me everything I need to have with me. But I'm going to be in Canada for a day and on a TV show there, and then I fly back to Atlanta Monday night. But so if you want any of these books, we've got a few that are still out there. But Changing My Mind is the story of my illness. And I wrote this hoping it would help other people, but it was therapy for me. It was me choosing to not live in denial of my disease or my damaged brain, but to write about it, talk about it, and have a better life because of it. Okay? So this one I'm giving away free, so if any of you want this, Changing My Mind, there it is. Okay? Christmas is you just have to grab it. Christmas is a time of year that for many people is sad, a lot of grief, a lot of pain, a lot of hurt during that time of year. That is good. Since he did that, I'm going to pick on him just for a moment. As you were talking yesterday, I just want to tell you I'm so proud of you for talking. That was like therapy for you. As you were talking to us, and that one time when you're like, I don't know what I was getting ready to say, and you felt frustrated, we just nodded because we are your relatives. And you worked through that. I was just so proud of you, and I wanted to tell you that in front. You did a great job. You guys powerful. Because when we realize that we're not okay, but it's okay to not be okay, we're not the only ones who are not okay, then we can say, okay. Okay? And Christmas is a time of grief for a lot of people. Will it replay on me? Christmas is a time of grief for a lot of people, so I wrote this Christmas book. It's just a gift book. And then it was like, my life was in such a hurry doing so many things. Really what my seizure medicine tells my brain to do is like, hit pause. You're in too big of a hurry, Chris. Slow down. And I had to write about that, Pause, the Secret to a Better Life, one word at a time. And there was positive responses. So the next book in the Pause series was Pause for Moms. Some of you caregivers here who are taking care of others, you need to read that because you need to understand the importance of self-care. I call it holy selfishness. We think it's wrong to be selfish. If we're selfish the right way, then we are more likely to be good at doing good for others. And then the book, Pause for Pastors. There are many pastors out there that are messed up. You know that, I know that. But often it's because they're worried about everybody but themselves, and their marriages are a mess, and I'm counseling a lot of them right now. I received a text recently from a well-known pastor, and he can trust me because I'm not going to tell his name because he thinks my brain is so damaged I can't remember his name, but I remember his. But I know confidentiality, I won't tell it. But I can tell you what he texted me right before he goes out to preach to this big congregation. This is what he says to me. I don't know how much longer I can do this. See, he's carrying everybody's load. He hasn't learned to release it. So I wrote this book, Pause for Pastors, Releasing the Pain of Others. And this is my latest, Pause with Jesus. And if you can get a copy of any of them, this is my newest one. It's out there. Get a copy before you leave. If you can't pay me $20, pay me something. Pause with Jesus. And a couple of things that I want to mention to you about this that were therapeutic for me. I wrote about my illness again in this book. In chapter 20 is just my struggle. Would Jesus really love a damaged brain guy like me? Well, the Jesus that I believe in would and does. And then the final chapter, I was writing my final chapter,
last summer when I was speaking at a disability conference, and I'm around all of these families with special needs, kids or adults. And I was, in my free time, I would go back to my room and I was writing one of my chapters. It was going to be the last chapter of the Pause with Jesus story. And it's like after Jesus' death, resurrection, and ascension. So it's like what the church really should be like. And I had my game plan, because I'm a plan in advance kind of person, and I knew what I wanted to write about. It was going to be the will of Chris. What Chris Maxwell thought churches should really be like in all of our cultures. And God's probably laughing at me the whole time. But as I watched what's happening to these special needs families, I just did the only way I could respond. I cried. And I realized that our church culture and so many of our businesses and so many rooms like this are not made for people with special needs. They're not. The lighting and the sound and the structure and the schedules are not. Thank you, by the way, for making the schedule fit for us and our weaknesses. So I wrote about kind of the church of my dreams. And I imagine Jesus not being a cool CEO, superstar kind of figure that we often imagine that he is. But I wrote about Jesus being right there in that row with all of the wheelchairs. And I didn't have the coolest singer in town to come up with the big screen on the big stage singing with the best voice in town. But I wrote about a little boy with Down syndrome coming to sing a few verses.
Amen.
And I'm going to tell you guys, maybe a preacher, maybe a speaker that goes around the world, but I'm a weak man in need of a reality of my beliefs, and writing about it and dreaming about it and realizing that in my belief system, I believe that I'm loved by my Creator. Whatever your belief system is, see that you are important. Write about that. Write a new story and realize that that is this next season of your life. Okay? Some of you bought our son Taylor's CDs last year. I brought these, and his Good Grief has one song in it that's a song about my illness. It's called Underwater. And Taylor is our oldest son, and as he was the oldest, as I was going through the illness, he was just a kid. He's 30 now, and it was 20 years ago, so how old was he? And he was still the oldest of our three sons. And there his dad is, not remembering his name. I'm having to learn the names of our three sons again. And I was the leader. I was the coach in basketball and baseball. I was the pastor of the church. And here I am. I stutter and I cry when you tell me a joke. And I lose my temper, and I'm adjusting to medication and brain damage. He wrote a song about it, and it's called Underwater. That's how he felt. He felt like he was underwater. But refreshing the soul is important for every one of us. Well, I could end with that. That's like 5 points, and we could end, and all of you would be happy. But I can't. I can't. There has to be a number 6 here, and here's why. Because I believe one of the things that we can do with our writing, or however you choose to find ways to release the emotions like I've been talking about, let it not end by being about us and our story. You know, as I wrote those stories, it had to be for other people. So reach out is the last point that I want you to remember. Number 1 is realizing our struggles. Number 2, releasing our emotions. Number 3, receiving ourselves. Okay, let's receive ourselves. Number 4, reworking the mind. Number 5, refreshing the soul. And then this last one, reaching out. Write, here's your other assignment that I'm going to give you. Write a note to somebody else. You want to be able to write and use those senses? Write a note to somebody else today and thank them for something that they have done for you. Just use your writing in a positive way. I write for a lot of different magazines, write for a lot of different places, but I want, just when I write a text message to somebody, to be that smile, to bring hope for them, to be the medication. Okay, maybe it's not going to be the anti-epileptic medication that I take, but that medicine calms my electrical system, correct? Maybe the note that I send someone can be a way of calming their emotions just for a moment. So let's not just understand the therapy of writing and it all be about us and for us and I'm better, so let's go on. I believe we become better as we do something for other people. And so I've got to end with this story to tell you, because it's like, this is one of those wow moments for me. And so go with me back to Atlanta, Georgia real quick. As I'm going in on a Sunday night, I'm going to have an EEG early that Monday morning. This was a few months ago. They've done my MRI, and they're going to have to do an EEG, and I'm 100 miles from Atlanta, Georgia, and I didn't want to have to drive early that Monday morning and fight the traffic because I would never make it in time, so I spent the night at a hotel right near my neurologist in Atlanta, Georgia. And those of you that know me, it's like obsessive compulsive, got to be where I'm going early, got to get there on time, and boom, 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 into traffic, and I'm thinking so many things all at once. And I had to meet with somebody in Atlanta, and they were buying some of my books, and I met with them. And so then I went over to the hotel. I had to pay for this hotel myself, so it needed to be what? Inexpensive, right? Yes. But it needed to be a good location, close to my doctor, where I wouldn't be stuck in the traffic the next morning. So I'm thinking of all these thoughts. I found a cheap place. I get to the hotel, and I had my reservation. I get unpacked, go to the room, and everything is perfect. But it's 6 p.m. I have to eat on time and take my seizure medicine right on time. So then I had a major dilemma. Where would I go and eat? I've got to pay for my own meal, which means it needs to be what? Cheap.
Roadkill?
Said Roachcoach.
So then I realized even this damaged brain remembered this. I confess, I've never been into McDonald's. I just don't like McDonald's. But now they serve breakfast all day. So I thought, I can have breakfast. I can get a McDonald's. So it's cheap, and it's got to be one close by. So I just talk to my brain, the one that really works, my phone, and I ask for the closest McDonald's, and I have 3 choices. I'm like, I just wanted one choice. And so don't make my life complicated. So I've got 3 choices. Where will I go? Where will I go? Normally, Chris would pick which one? The closest. But I picked number 2. I still don't know why. I picked number 2, and I'm like, now I have another major decision. I mean, this is the one I'm going to go to, so I'm going to the car. What is my next major decision? Do I eat in, or do I bring it back to the hotel? I can bring it back to the hotel and get work done while I'm eating. I just felt like I needed to eat in. So I drive, my phone tells me where to go, and I noticed I'm going into a part of Atlanta that is not safe. Let me word it that way. Not the safest street of Atlanta. But I'm like, should I go to the other one? But I just feel like I need to go to this one. So I go and park. Maybe I should get it to go. No, I'm going to go in. So I go and get my breakfast for dinner, and I'm taking my medicine and smiling. I'm getting work done. And this is just me, because I need alone time. I need alone time, then group time. I like the healthy balance of both extremes. So I'm eating my breakfast for dinner in Atlanta, Georgia, and getting work done. I start hearing this odd noise. And I look out the window, and there's this group, not a person, singular, plural, not a family, a group of people that are all walking, not parking cars, walking together to McDonald's. I'm like, I don't know who they are. I don't know what's going on, but I'm glad, just selfish me, I'm glad I placed my order so I'm not standing in this long line, taking my medicine, maybe a little extra medicine. And then the group comes in to go over to the table, go over to the counter to begin placing their order. One man comes walking my direction. He didn't look smiling, he didn't look happy, he just looked like this, and he walked right past me and had a big bag with him. So he takes this bag and he throws it down right beside me. And I'm sitting in this big table, but it's just me. And I looked at him and I said, "Sir, if you're here with a group, I can go to a smaller table. It's just me." He said, "No, I'm fine." Okay, then he goes back and he's standing there talking to a lady there at the where they're getting ready to order their meals. And then he walks back and sits down beside me. And I love people. I love to talk to people. And I didn't know if this guy was going to love me, but I was going to love him anyway. And so I said it again. I said, "Sir, if you would like to sit here, I can move." And then he said this. He said, "If I ever get to eat at McDonald's, this is the table I want to sit at." And I said, "Sir, who are you with?" He said, "My wife is placing my order." I said, "Are you with other people too?" And then he just looked at me. And I could see his face, but I could see so much more than his face. He said, "Sir, all of us in this group are homeless." And a man came over and told all of us to walk 2 blocks and he would meet us at McDonald's and buy us all dinner. And then he began telling me his story. See, I don't need to just live based on my story. I needed to hear his story. His story is not encephalitis and epilepsy. But his story is a man who had a great job in construction years ago, but because of various issues, he and his wife are now homeless in the streets of Atlanta, Georgia. Their kids and grandkids live far away. He has been offered money by men if he would allow them to rape his wife. He's living in that culture. I worry about my flight time of departure and arrival. He's worried about survival. And so I just began asking him more questions, and he told me more and more stories. Hearing his story was therapy for me. He needed someone to listen to his story because he didn't know he could tell that story and still be loved. That someone would still be interested in his story. He thought that his smell would keep someone away from him. He didn't realize that I was receiving therapy as I was listening to his story. And then I said to him, "Where's the man that brought you over here?" And he pointed to a man who was standing there at the front of McDonald's. Before I left to go get ready for the night and then have my EEG the next morning, I wanted to meet that man. He's a business leader in Atlanta, Georgia, not wanting his name to be known to many people, but he spends his time after work not just counting his money, but going and seeing faces, seeing lives. And it is therapy for him. In his busy workload, it is therapy for him to help others. Well, that could be the end of the story, and we could all go eat and say goodbye and all that stuff. But the next morning, I wake up early, and my phone tells me directions to get to the doctor's office so I can have my EEG. And I'm going in there, and right before I go in, I notice that someone called my phone. They didn't leave a message, but I called them back. I had time. Called them back, and I said, "Yes, this is Chris Maxwell. I noticed that you called this number and didn't leave a message." He said, "Yeah, Chris, this is Scott, the friend that you met last night at McDonald's, and I just wanted to thank you for coming over and talking to me and being nice to my friends that I brought over to McDonald's. And I just wanted to let you know that I'm praying for you as you have your test this morning." This is somebody that I did not know before McDonald's. This last point isn't go to McDonald's. The last point is, if you do, notice the faces. It's not all about me. It's not all about you. And it is therapeutic for us to write our stories and release the pain. It's also therapeutic for us to welcome the stories of others into our stories. I believe that as we go and do something for somebody else, wow, we are taking some of the best medicine that we can take. So let's do that. Let's do that. So close your eyes just for a moment. I'm going to give you one more assignment and then I'm done. So close your eyes. Think about now that one person that you maybe can send a note to today. That you can state something positive to today. And just put it on your schedule, put it on your agenda to do that today. Doing something for somebody else. And then go back to where we started. Look in that mirror again. See yourself. And smile. Smile at yourself right now. Use your imagination. And realize that you are important today. Write about it. Or voice it into recording. Find some way to release those emotions that you are important and you can make a difference in this world. All right, now open your eyes. And this is what we're going to do now at the end. If you got a few questions, you can do that. And if you want to pick up any of my books, you can do that. And then I've got to grab my stuff and head to the airport in about probably 10, 15 minutes from now. I've got to get on the road. But your last assignment is this. Are you ready? And let's don't do it loud because some of us don't like loud noises. Let's just do it softly. I want you to clap, not for me. I want you to clap for you and your future because I believe you have a great one. Go ahead. Thank you. Thank you again for doing this. All of you on the leadership team. Thank you all for putting this together. Question?
I have over 4 and 5 again. I was listening to,
Rework.
All right, which numbers?
4 and 5.
4 is reworking the mind. reworking the brain, and 5 is refreshing the soul. Thanks for asking. Question?
I'm writing.
Thank you.
People have died. So I'm wondering how I could do what you were just saying. For those people who are dead, would you be hard for me to write? And it's not about me. I mean, I write about me and what I've lost and all that, but it's about these other people
Yeah.
and wanting to say how much I miss them.
Yes.
So,
I think that is great therapy to do that. I've written a lot about my mom. I talk a lot about her. My mother died when I was 19.
yeah.
When I had the illness in March of 96, I could only remember 2 names. My wife, Debbie, everybody say that was good. And also, my mother's name, but I never called her Carolyn. I always called her Mama. Is that odd?
Right.
But my brain remembered Carolyn and Debbie. But I always write about her. I've got a lot of stories about her in my books. And writing about others has been therapeutic for me. Just being able to thank somebody who's not even here to read my book. You know, they're not on Amazon, but they are important to me. And that is good for you. And just a couple of things to you personally. You crying like that, let's remember that we are created to cry.
Oh, yeah.
Our culture tells us not to. Our culture is wrong. It is therapy. We need to laugh and to cry. It doesn't need to be either or. It's a world of both and. And then also just the kindness you've shown in welcoming us. I appreciate that. So thank you. Thank you very much. Any other questions, comments, rebukes, corrections? Thank you very much. Thank you, guys.
A big thank you.